Hi guys, thanks for joining us today. So I'm Lucy and I am a social media executive at Avid Games, which is an app company based in sunny Tunbridge Wells. And we have been developing a really cool app called Cue Cards. And I have a little presentation, which I'm gonna share with you now. I'm just gonna share my screen, bear with me. Okay, right, that's slide 4. We're gonna go back to slide 1. So Avid Games, and I am Lucy. I am the social media executive at Cue Cards, TCG, which is the card game. I did a BA in criminology, then an MA in journalism. I've worked at Cosmopolitan magazine, numerous travel magazines, and as a travel correspondent on BBC Radio. And I've always done social media, which is how I got into working for Avid Games. And there's my little avatar, which we've been working on. And I will come to that in a minute. So I look after all of the social media, video content, and community management on Cue Cards. It all starts with a big bang. This is all about Cue Cards now. So this is Cards, the Universe, and Everything. And here are the cards. It basically works like a card game. We'll go into that in a minute. But anything you could possibly imagine and think of in the universe, we have a card for. And it's a strategic game. It's a card collecting and battling game. And you need curiosity, skills, and top tactics. You can play against friends, family. There's leagues, there's everything. We'll come on to that more. So here's a little video explainer, just so you can get an idea of what we're all about. Okay. So we've been doing lots of work on YouTube as a channel, but I'll come to that later. Right, here's another explainer. Meet Billy. This will tell you a little bit more about the app.
This is Billy. Now, it may interest you to know that Billy has memorized all 807 Pokemon characters, can spin 4 fidget spinners at once, and knows all the best places to cower in Fortnite. Rather more impressively, Billy can also name all the planets in the solar system and can hold his own in a conversation about the Colossus of Rhodes. He knows this useful stuff because he plays Cards, the Universe, and Everything. It's a card-based mobile game that's designed to inspire curiosity in an almost infinite number of subjects. You never know what you'll find in a pack. Lions, paper, pie, satellites, the Bayer tapestry, Napoleon, the Sphinx, black hole, Shakespeare, ducks, volcanoes, dolphins, and even string theory. My. It's fantastic fun, whether you're 6 or 60, and there's literally nothing in the universe quite like it. But best of all, Billy here has no idea he's getting smarter. Cards, the Universe, and Everything. We call them Cue Cards for short.
Okay, so I hope that's explained that a little bit more, and I hope the video with the cards flying towards you didn't make you too dizzy. So yeah, Cards, the Universe, and Everything. It's an endless collectible card game using the whole of time and space for its subject matter. So anything you could possibly imagine, like I said before, whether it's the Colossus of Rome, whether it's albino tigers, whether it's some sort of hybrid animals, anything and everything we have. It's a grin-inducing, surprisingly educational, wholesome waste of time. And the great thing about Cue Cards is you will be getting smarter and you'll be a really good dinner party guest because we spend a lot of time producing our content. So we have a team of content managers. I'm one of them, and Dan Price is another one, a guy I work with, my colleague. So we spend ages researching and writing the backs of cards. So it's not only a game, but you are learning a load of stuff, which is why it's really good for schools, but I'll come on to that as well. So basically, our target audience is people with an interest in STEM topics and cultural touch points. So they probably would consider themselves to be brighter than average, with looking at sort of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Doctor Who, millennials in STEM, maybe curious retirees. We currently have a male bias when we've done some studies, but you know, lots of women play too, including myself, and it's suitable for kids, but we're not pitching it completely at kids because it's kind of like a real brain training app that's been developed because there's a lot of strategy involved. It's not just collecting cards, it's fusing the cards together, it's building an ideal deck. So it's really like a brain training app as well. So why will they play? This is something we obviously really had to consider and look at when the app developers were developing the game. And they're obviously in it for curiosity and wonder, intellectual stimulation and fun. And we have key ingredients to make this successful, which are daily releases of our cards. We have frequent surprises, so we might drop in some surprise cards like mythic cards, which could be like the Kraken or Unicorn. And those are, you know, really popular. And we have Discord channels where people who game and play games can discuss cards they want. And it's become a real community, which I will come on to. And obviously the developers of the app have spent a really, really long time looking into the ins and outs and the strategy of how it will work. There are constant updates. They're constantly working on bugs and fixes. So they're super busy and they do a fantastic, fantastic job. Oops. Slide 10, right. So we have released over 800 already, far more than that now actually. Topics include paleontology, scientific principles, birds, feudal Japan, architecture, deep sea creatures, ancient Greece. We actually have a Greek mythology collection launching today with some amazing artwork, which will be really good. And they have different powers and energy ratings, which I'll come on to. So they contain fun factlets, gorgeous images, audio, video, and augmented reality to bring the subjects to life. So there are 4 rarity levels and the cards are crafted from multiple ingredients and holiday specials. And the great thing about the game, like I said, was it's not purely collecting. You're working the cards with each other. So some cards can interact or buff others or make others better. So you're constantly working with like the strategy of the game. Here's a first play tutorial just to give you an idea of the game.
Hello and welcome to this tutorial on cue cards. We'll have you up and playing in a couple of minutes. Cue is a trading card game unlike traditional card games. This means each player builds their own deck to play with. For Cue, those decks always have 18 cards in them. In fact, you can build lots of decks and switch between them for different games. This lets you try out different strategies. The key to understanding Cue is this: the deck you put together is as important as how you play it. You'll build decks with the cards you trade or find in packs, but be warned, everyone else is making their own 18-card decks too, so you'll need to choose the best cards to beat them. We'll look at deck building in the next video. Let's focus on playing the game first. Every cue card has an energy cost and a power rating. You play up to 3 cards every turn, paying their energy costs, and the total of the power rating is compared to your opponent's cards. The player with the higher power wins the turn. If you have the most power after 3 turns, you win the round. Win 3 rounds and you win the game. When you're just starting out, it is important to manage energy and look ahead. What do I mean by that? Well, if you have a really good card to use, but you don't have enough energy to play it yet, you might want to save some of that energy on this turn. In fact, you might not want to play the card at all. And sometimes you might see that you're definitely going to lose this round, in which case you can save your energy for the next one. Looking ahead, especially when you first start out, is often about looking for arena bonuses. Let's say you have 3 oceans and seas cards in your hand and 2 life on land. If the next round is life on land, and remember you can see the next round in the round counter at the top of the screen, then you may want to save those cards until the next round to get the arena bonus. So, manage energy and look ahead. Thank you for watching this Cue tutorial. We'll be making more tutorials over the coming weeks. Please subscribe to this channel.
Okay, so that gives you a bit of an idea of how things work. So for example, the Sun card would give solar energy 1+ energy per turn for the remainder of the quest. And the Spartan helmet has no surrender, so it would protect against attacks on opponent's cards. So you can get so involved with the strategy and the tactics of the game, and it just makes it really fun and really addictive. So the meta game, the cards come in a host of different packs given to players via rewards or via purchase. You can use duplicates to craft new cards using recipes, trade cards with other players, like old school Got in the playground. You can win prizes for quizzes based on cards you've collected. You can also invite friends to play the app, trade and challenge them, and visit Basecamp where you can do trades, and it's a social marketplace for card offers and requests. We also give regular news updates and give loads of video tutorials and video updates, which I'm going to come to shortly. So future growth. We've started competitive leagues, which are different arenas, and you can get the cards ready and you can basically get trophies and work your way up the leaderboard. We're going to have other editions: entertainment edition, history edition, culture edition, and we have an education version for schools, classroom reward system for Key Stage 2, and teacher administered. And in lockdown, we've been working with schools and giving them access to the app, giving them rewards, so that when children are being homeschooled, they can use it as an educational supplement and also use it to have fun as well. So something we've really focused on, something I've focused on since I've been with Avid Games, are videos and vlogs. So our videos and vlogs are a really important way of getting our news across to our players, and they really stimulate a great community feel. We like to give, we call them the Q-niverses and the community, nice little play on words there. We like to give them 2 to 3 video updates a week from myself and Dan, who we call Content Dan, because he's in charge of content. So the video and video tutorials appear in-app for ease of viewing for the player, and Dan and I present. So in the middle of the week, we'll give updates on cards coming out, we'll just have a chat, we'll just make it really informal. And at the end of the week, we tell everyone what's coming out of the weekend and talk about new leagues, which are coming on Monday. So that's done really well, and it just keeps a real community feel, and everyone's tuning in and they feel like they get to know us as well, and we just make them really fun. So there's me and Dan, and here is an example of some of our videos, which are a little bit mad sometimes. So here you go.
Hello, Dan. Dan. Dan.
Right, so Dan, how are you? Yeah, and we've got a total of 2,757,292 views so far, and we're getting more and more subscribers all the time on YouTube, which is really great, and it's a really important way of us getting news across. And we even made Dan into a Danimation, if you will. And sometimes my dogs appear on the videos as well. So like I say, we just keep them really informal, keep them really fun. And there's Dan as an animation. Hello, Dan.
Hello.
Hello, Clive. Hello,
Hey, Clive.
This is my prop for the next league arena. Dan, you're looking great today. Lockdown is obviously suiting you. It's doing wonders for you. Dan didn't actually know in that video that he had been made into an animation until afterwards. So that was a bit of a shock and a surprise. But yeah, the YouTube channel is really important to us, and we're trying to get more subscribers all the time. And it's just a really, really good way of keeping the community together and really just building that nice feel for the app. And there's obviously Discord as well, which I discussed before, where the players can get into so much detail about the game and cards and the strategy and the tactics, and there's probably always about 300 people online at any one time, so we dip in and out to talk to them and answer their support questions and just keep an eye on how they're enjoying the game. Right, Q quizzes we launched a few months ago, so they're a really great way on social media and on YouTube of the players utilising the knowledge they have gained from their cards to answer questions and win prizes. So they can win gems directly into their account, and gems pay for the cards, as do coins, but the gems are the prizes they really want. So we mocked up an old school retro quiz studio, and I present the quizzes, and they have gained traction and have really high views and high engagement. So it really keeps things fun in the community, and it just keeps people using their cards and having a really good time with them. Here's a little example.
Greetings, Universes. I'm here with some very exciting news. I am your quiz master, and tomorrow we will be launching the Q Immunity Quiz and Twitter Trivia. This could be anything, any quiz question from Zeus to the Parthenon, Spartan helmets to samurais, pugs to mossy frogs. We want you online on Twitter to take part in our quiz. There will be prizes. There will be some exciting questions. We'll see you on Twitter tomorrow. More to be announced. Bye.
I was trying to look a bit more intelligent in that video with the glasses. Okay, so social media, our Twitter, Instagram and Facebook has grown rapidly, as you can see, since March 2020 as the app continues to grow. So it's really pushing up and we're getting a load more followers, loads of interaction. So the growth is doing really well. We're really happy with that. And it's very important to us to see that the community are following us online in this day and age of social media. And we also do Fact of the Day, which we use on social media to spread knowledge and make learning fun. So these drive more traffic to the app and they can be reshared, and it's just some little snippets from the Quniverse about, you know, the most random things, as you can see, atoms on a teaspoon, or Lampy, the world's oldest garden gnome. So we share those and they can be reshared, and it's just a fun, accessible way of people gaining more knowledge from the app, and it just gets us out there and it creates a lot more visibility for cue cards. Okay, so working with schools, as I discussed before. Many who are not key workers may have spent the last few months working at home, muddling through things. So we wanted to help parents, children and educators through these unprecedented times. You can see some of the backs of the cards there where you get all your information. So the card game itself is strategic. As I've said, it requires mathematical skills, working memory and mental flexibility, as well as self-control to do well. So that's why we thought it would do really well for schools and for children. It helps with learning and they can share with their students. And it's just a really great way of having fun, but learning at the same time. So I think it really keeps engagement with children as well. So if you would like to join the Quniverse and if you'd like to play, we have a little code here. And if you download and play this unique webinar code from today's talk, will give you a considerable amount of in-app credit to buy store items free of charge. So you just need to take a photo of the little barcode there, the QR code, and it will take you to cue cards. And we hope you enjoy the app. And yes, the universe is full of wonders that can't be experienced by simply staring at your mobile, but you have to start somewhere. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you. Hope you've enjoyed the presentation. Sorry for the slightly rocky start, but nice irony of technology failing us during Tech Week. And I'm just going to stop showing my screen now. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much there, Lucy, and I've really enjoyed that talk. Anthony is with us. He's a Zoom participant as well. I don't know whether he wants to ask any questions at any point, Anthony, if you wish to. And if you just unmute yourself, or if you choose to come on video, you're welcome to, but there's no pressure there. You don't have to use the video. You can join in any questions you might have. And I'm looking here on the, as I'm talking 5 seconds ago on Facebook, in a few minutes people can start adding in comments in the comment section on Facebook if you want to ask any questions, and I'll be able to read those out to Lucy as well. So please do that, and I'll be keeping an eye on that. We've got Owen in the background and he can also keep an eye on those questions and he'll type them into the chat on the Zoom. So yeah, this is the joy of technology, trying to work in multiple approaches to make sure that we can talk to each other and find out more about what you're doing. So I've been noting down a few things. I've found it really interesting what you've been talking about. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about how the sort of beginning of being a startup app, where did it all begin? How did the company get to where they are? What did you have to do at the beginning?
It started with another app called Card Explorer, which was in early stages, but it was launched and it was doing well. But I think I came in a bit later on. I mean, they were obviously developing it for a long time, but they just wanted to really make it a lot more involved. So Cue Cards was born, and it's been so much work. I mean, obviously we're at the point now where we've gone to market and it's launched and it's doing really well, but that was like, you know, days, weeks, months of sweat and tears for the developers. And obviously Card Explorer had its own fans and people that were playing, so we had to start a migration process to migrate them over to Cue Cards, because it was slightly different the way it was hosted. But we obviously you know, gave them rewards and brought them over. But yeah, it's been a real sort of passion project for all the developers and the MD and everyone at Avid Games. So it's amazing to, I mean, I kind of came in when it was about to launch, so to me it just looked like a very polished product already, but there was obviously so much time and work that went into it to get to where it is now. So it's exciting.
And have you got, what sort of advice would you give people who, maybe somebody's got a great idea for an app, but they're not quite sure how to sort of move it from the idea stage into the reality of actually having it up and running?
I would say, you know, definitely, if you have ideas, there's such an amazing community of game developers and app developers on Twitter and on all the social media channels and on Discord and things, which is I spoke about it in my presentation. It's like a place where you can discuss all these ideas, and I would just say just bounce your ideas off people. There's always people there who want to talk, and maybe other game developers who can help get behind you, and to just go for it really. And there's always like people who can help you along the way and you know, make your dream a reality.
Yeah, sounds good. And is funding something that you can get for this kind of thing?
Yes, yeah, you can get definitely like investment and funding. So again, it's, you know, I would say don't be deterred if it was an issue of funding, because there are companies and places who will get behind an app like that. So
yeah, right. I've just seen a question coming in. So Paul on Facebook is asking, it says, really interesting talk. How long does it take to put a typical app together from idea to launch? That's a good question.
Yes, it is a good question. Again, I wasn't one of the developers who, should have got one of the developers on with me, shouldn't I? Not in my living room though. I'd say a long time. I think it depends really how much sort of detail and how much goes into it, but I think a good sort of 18 months, year. But again, it could be different depending on the app and depending how much, you know, goes into that. But that's definitely a developer question. But yeah. I would say, yeah, it's been a fair amount of time. So
yeah.
But yeah, you know, if it's something you believe in and something that you know, again, there was a quote I read the other day that said, if it's something you really enjoy and something you love, it doesn't ever feel like work. So I think, you know, it sounds so corny, but I think sometimes, you know, it could be years in the making, but if it's something you really believe in, and I know the guys at Avid and the whole company just so believes in this app, and they've put like so many hours into it, and then it comes to this point and it is amazing for everyone to see. But I think just keep going, and it's become like an inspirational talk. Yeah. But you know what I mean, just like, you know, keep going, and yeah, everyone I'm sure can get there and get to a place where they can launch and get people playing, which is the name of the game.
I've just had a little technical message that says that audio for you, Lucy, is a little bit quiet. Okay. You're fine for me on Zoom. You sound the same. You sound great on Zoom, but it may be a Facebook thing. I don't know whether you've got any way of turning your microphone up at all. If we can try that. Don't worry if you can't, but if we can, that would be great.
Okay, I've turned it up a little bit.
Struggling to hear you a little bit. I'll shout a bit more. Yes. I'm probably just boom my voice. It's a natural, my natural reality is I'm a bit boomy.
Yeah.
So yeah, you talked a little bit about how you're sort of making sure you're being noticed in the market, and I actually looked at quite a few of your YouTube videos, and they're fantastic. Anybody who wants to look at an example of how to market this sort of thing should really go there. But tell me a bit more about how to sort of find your place in the market and how you kind of.
Well, I mean, it's tricky these days, because I mean, you know, the world and his wife is on social media, and there are so many apps, there are so many games, there are so many products out there. So, you know, we really just wanted to make ourselves kind of accessible, so that, you know, the problem with so many apps and games, and we see this a lot from players, is they think you're some big corporation, they think you're some big faceless corporation. I mean, I know there are places like that, but we are really a small startup app. We're a small friendly team, so we really wanted to get that across. And when we were in the office, we built like a little broom cupboard thing, which my boss Duncan got behind, and we put loads of stuff on the shelves, and we wanted to kind of host it as presenters in this broom cupboard and make it just really fun and just having a chat really. And then we went into lockdown and we were having to host our videos on Zoom, so Dan and I would just talk like this, but actually I think it's worked better because they can sort of see into our homes, and it just, if anything, it's made it more popular, and we've got more views and more people subscribing, because they just, not only do they want to hear the news from the universe, which is the most important thing for them, but they like to see the people that are working on the app. They like to put a face to the name and get to know us and feel like they know us. So it's not scripted. We literally just, you know, speak to each other on Zoom, and it's, I think, a dynamic that just works. We have even had fan art.
Wow.
We should have shown on this, actually. I meant to put a slide in, but yeah, we've had drawings of Dan and I. We've had a collage. And I think the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start making merch to just make it like a sort of cult product, and everyone's really up for that. And it's great to have players who really engage with us and we feel like we get to know them, and then they give us feedback, and so it works really, really well with making the product relevant, and also just having a nice community feel, because I think people want to know that you're there and you're listening and you care about them when they're playing a game. So yeah, it's been good fun, and the YouTube thing has just sort of grown and grown. So we're doing 2 or 3 videos a week, and then we've got the quizzes, and yeah, so Dan and I have become, I guess, a bit like the Holly and Phil of cue cards. Holly will be a Philip Schofield, but Dan's not quite grown up yet.
And I was interested in what you're saying about sort of you're constantly adding to the cards, you're building lots of new content all the time. So in terms of thinking about what are you, because you talk about going into schools and things, what sort of themes how do you come up with the idea of themes for your set?
Well, we will, Duncan and Dan and I and the rest of the team, we're always talking about content. We're always, so with a collection, we'll need to have 20 cards. So one of the collections I came up with was Mad Monarchs. So it was, royalty and monarchs who've been a bit crazy or bonkers. So you have to come up with 20 and make sure that there's enough to say about them. And then Dan is working tirelessly to make sure that the cards can interact with other cards, and there are fusion cards. So this week we've got like the Arctic Fox coming out, which will work with the Frost cards and other cards. So it's so kind of strategic. Like Dan, who does the content and works on the cards interacting, is constantly, there's so many sort of spinning plates and moving pieces. But yeah, we have content meetings, and if there's something we're really passionate about. So today we have Greek mythology launching, because we did Norse gods, which did really well. And there was some really cool artwork for that. And that was a popular collection. So we were like, well, let's do Greek mythology. And we have the same artist. We have the images from the same artist for Greek mythology. So that's coming out today. And 4 cards will come out, and then the rest of the collection will come out, and there could be fusion cards. So yeah, it's basically anything and everything within reason. We're discussing at the moment sort of maybe doing some musicians and doing more culture, because it was always STEM at first, and I'm working on a collection of mobsters and like crime lords and things. So yeah, if there's something we're passionate about, we'll be like, yeah, let's do that. And we had like Wild West, and like we've had scientists. There's so much, and it's actually amazing to write the cards, and I feel like I've learned a lot more from working on it, and I know a lot more interesting, sometimes random facts. So yeah.
So you as a team are also the ones doing the research. So
yeah. We're doing all the research, and we're writing the cards and trying to keep ahead. So we do a lot of content writing, which is great. I said to my husband, I feel like I'd be a lot more interesting at a dinner party now when we finally allow them.
That's great. So I'd written down as we were talking a few questions. Paul on Facebook had already asked one of the questions I was going to ask. So are there any challenges that you think you've faced as a company over the time you've been set up? What are the key challenges you've had?
Well, it's basically just, sorry, I was just reading, there's a question from Anthony. Sorry, Anthony, I wasn't ignoring you. I've only just seen it.
I haven't seen that either.
Shall I answer Anthony's first?
Yes, please go for Anthony's first.
So Anthony said, can you elaborate on the terms STEM? So it's science, technology. So it's basically engineering, maths. It's everything like, space, maths, science. And there's so much we can do on STEM. So that's where we started. And gradually we're going to, like I said, introduce a bit more art, culture. We've got a Shakespeare collection coming out. And we're always open for working with different companies. So with Shakespeare, we've got a guy who has a website on Shakespeare. He's got some lovely images. So we're basically going to collaborate with him and put his logo on the cards and put his, some information about his company. So we're always like looking to, approach influencers, approach companies. So it could be maybe an astronaut. We have a famous astronaut we've been talking to called Astronaut Abby, and she could have her own collection, and then we can, mention her. So it's never ending really. There's so much we can do, and so much we can work on. So
yeah. That's great. Yeah, and going back to the STEM, which So for those of you who don't know, STEM is something that schools are expected to make sure they're doing, and also any cultural organisation, heritage organisation, think a lot about science, technology, engineering, maths, but it's also, these days it's more commonly known as STEAM, because they've added an art into the middle of it, just to remember that art's there. And obviously being Creative Folkestone here and Southeast Creative, which particularly thinking about the creative and digital industries, it's great to see that there's, you know, that these topics are being really pushed. And that art's being brought into it as well. I don't know whether I didn't spot that, so Anthony probably sent you that message directly to you on chat. So I don't know whether he's got any other questions that he wanted to ask. Well, I haven't yet had any more coming through from Facebook, but if anybody on Facebook's got any last questions they want to ask, please do type them in as quickly as you can, so that we're aware there's a slight delay. So we'll give you a moment. Yeah, and if Anthony wanted, Anthony's unmuted himself by the looks of it, so if you
yes. I did send a text chat message a bit earlier. I just wanted to know if you could explain a little bit more about the production process, how you go from drawing board to releasing the app, and what is your personal journey and all that.
Well, it's not my personal journey, because I'm not, just want to stress, I'm not one of the app developers. I came in for social media and content and community management, but we have a team of around 4 or 5 developers on the app, and they're constantly just playing around with, well, not playing around, they're working extremely hard on the ideas, and it will obviously go through like the beta testing, and then it's the meta game, and there's I mean, it's quite a long process, quite a complicated process that goes from drawing board to release, and there's so many, you know, bug fixes, there's so much that goes into it, and then you have to get the approval from the App Store, you have to everything, there's like, you know, so many fences to jump over, but it's definitely it's a long process, but definitely one that's worth it. But they, you know, even now we're out there, and we've been on the App Store since kind of January. We're always having to do testing and to run things and do bug fixes, and we have different channels where people are testing all the time, and it's a constant thing. It's not, nobody sort of sits back and says, oh, it's done now. It's a constant testing and making sure all the bugs are taken care of and everything. So, sorry, it's a very long-winded answer.
That's fine. I imagine it involves a lot of collaboration, because I can see from the videos you've shown, you've also got lots of graphics, and you've got voice acting, you've got people coding as well. So I guess you've got loads of teams working together. Yeah,
the coding teams, like you say, and we kind of all double up. So the voice you heard on one of the tutorials is Duncan, who's my boss, and he will do those things, and yeah, we're sort of all working together. But yeah, with the coding, and then there's the design, so we have the designers, we have those looking for images as well, and you know, every card is really discussed and looked at for what images will work, you know, the design, the fonts and everything. So it carries on all the time, and everything's being looked at with a very critical eye, just to make sure it's visually appealing and the text is good. And I think the players of the game do really enjoy how the cards look, but also reading the backs and our tone and style. So that's something that's, it's a process.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Now, so I don't know whether anybody's got any other questions. Otherwise, I think that we might be nearing the end of our talk. I'm just checking, there's nothing more on Facebook. And so thank you so much to Lucy for that talk. It was really interesting. I'm sure I'll probably come off this now and think of lots of other things I wish I'd asked you. And on that, if people do have more questions, then the Facebook video will stay on Facebook, and we'll also be putting it on YouTube. You're very welcome to send in questions or write in the comment section on Facebook, and we will pass those over to Lucy and see if she can get round to have time to answer anything else for you. And also you'll be able to find out more about Lucy, because in the bottom of the Facebook thing, in about 15-20 minutes or so, I'll be popping on an extra comment with links to go to various places you can find out more about cue cards, more about Lucy, and also I'll be telling you a bit more about Southeast Creatives, and there'll be some links on there. So once again, thank you to Lucy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us, and it's been great. And we'll say goodbye to our Facebook audience. Those of us on Zoom will stay on for a moment just to say our goodbyes there. But once again, thanks to everybody. I'm looking down here because I'm as if I'm talking to the actual my iPad. Bye-bye. But yeah, lovely to see you all on Facebook. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And we'll see you again tomorrow at 10 o'clock.